Hey everybody, it's Chris Aiken from the Classic Metal Show. And before we get to this next video, I just wanted to tell you that if you are looking for a way to make some money, to get yourself into the green, get out of the red, hook up with me. It's very, very simple. Just go to ataboy.com, ATABOY.com, and I will show you how to make some money with a low investment. And it's something I'm doing myself. It's not something I'm just hawking. So do it today. Hyperfund is the place. And again, ataboy.com. You can watch a little video that I've put together for you. You can watch some other videos there, and you can learn for yourself how to get yourself some cash. So let's do it, okay? All right, here's the video you actually came to see.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into Talk Toomey, episode 277 here on the CMS Podcast Network. That is cmspn.com. Make sure to head over there to check out to not only Talk Toomey, but my Drag the Waters, the Pantera podcast, Aftershocks, the Classic Metal Show, and Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast. This week on the show, we have Mike D from Killswitch Engage on to talk about As Daylight Dies, the reissue, the double gatefold vinyl reissue of one of the greatest metalcore albums of all time. As Daylight Dies, we dive into some of the tracks, some of the tours, we pop up the video. So if you are watching the video, you're going to get some treats. And if you're listening to it on podcast, make sure to head over to cmspn.com to check out the video portion of this interview. So once again, guys, thanks for checking out the show each and every week. Make sure to tell your friends that you are listening to the Talk Toomey podcast. And without any more of my ramblings, let's get on to my talk with Mike D from Killswitch Engage. All right, guys, we have Mike D of Killswitch Engage on to talk about the great album As Daylight Dies, originally out November 13th, 2006, just being re-released on double gatefold vinyl, and it looks awesome. So, Mike D, how you doing, man?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I got the idea to reach out to Amy because of the unboxing you did the other day. The album looks great, and my favorite part of it is just your graphic designer eye. Every step of the way, you're like, all right, colors look good. You know, everything's sharp. You know, it's great, man. I love it.
Well, it was my legit first time looking at it, and I was hoping I wasn't going to throw it across the room because not everything turns out exactly the way you want it to color-wise. There's always some sort of press gain, and things usually get darker, not lighter. So I try to compensate with anything that I produce. And you just never know where you're going to get unless you're standing in front of a press watching it actually print. So I was pleasantly happy. Everything seemed to be exactly what I was hoping for. Just recalibrated my monitors, so I was hoping that put the good luck kibosh on the thing, and it did.
Did you have to send over the artwork? Was that all from you that you still had, or was that kind of in a Roadrunner archive deal?
I keep everything I've ever done since I started the business Dark Icon design in 1992. And I have folder upon folder of all the archives, everything I've done since then. So I had all the backups. Not all the backups work, which is a concern sometimes, but I was able to go through everything and get as much as I possibly could to rip out and restart fresh, which is actually really fun. To take something apart that you did a while ago and try to make it better or at least lighten it up and make it more fit for nowadays production. Were
the old files like in a format you guys still use, or did you have to update that type stuff?
Yeah, I believe it was in Quark, which is a kind of a dead computer program at this point. So I had to change everything to an Adobe program, but everything seems to transfer pretty well. And I was able to, the main thing that I do is I open Photoshop and really rip things apart layer by layer and clean things up and then put them all back together. And hopefully when you lay them back together, it looks better than it did before.
Now, kind of going back to the time of the album, obviously you guys are coming off the big album there, and kind of you know, the first album with Howard coming back out and really trying to follow it up, and I think you guys killed it at the time. You know, was there a lot of pressure on you guys at the time to kind of you know, come back with another you know, landmark album at the time?
Well, you know, the first one with Howard was End of Heartache, and there was such critical acclaim with that record that once we put out As Daylight Dies, I felt like people were still talking about End of Heartache. Every interview I ever did was comparing to End of Heartache, this, that, and the other thing. So I thought that people didn't like As Daylight Dies at all. I kept trying to say, no, man, it's good. It's good. Don't worry about it. We got a cover on there. You'll like it. And it ended up being the best seller of the bunch, which is really cool. So,
yeah, I think the stat I just saw was, I know it's gold, but it, you know, maybe this pushes it over to platinum, or platinum will come soon when all this is said and done.
We've been talking platinum for the last year, and we've been trying to figure out the exact number. Apparently, it's very hard to figure out.
Yeah, with streaming and YouTube and everything else.
I thought we were either close or over it by now, but hopefully, yeah, this final thing will help push it. But thanks to all the fans for making that a thing. I never thought any band I would ever be in would have any gold plaques, let alone a platinum, which is a huge, huge, huge thing. So thank you. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, what was crazy, and even until just doing this interview, I always assumed in my brain that End of Heartache was my favorite Killswitch album. But then when I went back and listened to this, I was like, no, this is the album that I always, you know, go back to the most. You know, so I think that you know, at the time you might have been fighting for it, but I think with time, the album, you know, took its place in at least my brain of the best Killswitch album to the time.
Well, thank you. Okay, so going back to End of Heartache, it was a record that we were so cashed out with doing the record before it, whatever it was called. Alive or Just Breathing.
Yeah.
We had put so much effort into that record that by the time it came around to record End of Heartache, no one really felt like writing, but Adam's like, hey, listen, I have 12 songs here. I have 15 songs here. I have 20 songs here. Like, Adam, stop writing so someone else can write. God damn it. But that actually turned out to be more of an Adam record. So when it came to doing As Daylight Dies, everyone kind of jumped back into, we need to write more. We can't just have Adam writing all these records. So I think that one was like a return to everyone, all hands on deck, writing and contributing as much as there's, you know, we usually do in a record.
Now, what were some of the tours going on around the time? Do you remember, you know, touring this record, what you guys were doing at the time?
Gosh, that was As Daylight Dies was the longest we've ever toured. I remember being 2.5 years into touring on that record cycle, thinking I can't take anymore, I might die. And then all of a sudden, Holy Diver hitting it big on the radio, and then telling us, okay, guess what? We're going to do another half year of touring. And I was kind of over it. I told him to find a replacement. I couldn't deal, but we ended up doing it, and we're just so lucky to have had a run like that for a record like that. So I think we pushed it to its full potential. We definitely did as much as we possibly could with that. As far as touring, though, gosh, I can't remember back then. I probably should have brushed up on my notes as far as touring from then.
That's like one of the hardest things to look for. That's one of the hardest things to Google is a 2006 Killswitch tour. You know,
I mean, I want to say we did an Ozfest 2005. No, I guess we didn't. Trying to remember dates. Dates are hard.
Right. Yeah, that entire time period kind of runs together. That was not was that around the time of the Killswitch Used tour, or would that have been on End of Heartache? My Chemical Romance stuff.
Right. I guess that probably makes a lot of sense. We did this thing called Taste of Chaos, which was the Vans Warped Tour worldwide, which lasted quite a few tours. I think they did some pretty good business with it. we had started it in the US with Used and My Chemical Romance, which they were just starting to hit it big. And by the end of that tour, it was like night and day. I can't believe they're not headlining this. This show was like the most amazing transformation I've ever seen in a band, starting from the first date to the last date. That was really cool to see. Really nice guys. So it was great. Yeah, then we did Australia for the first time on that tour, and we did a bunch of Japan dates, and worldwide it was a really fun thing to do. Really, really cool. And you know, Kevin Lyman, who ran Vans Warped Tour, really liked to keep it very close knit and kind of like a home feel. So everyone felt like we were all putting on a show, not just you know, playing your set type of thing. So it was fun to put on a whole big show like that.
Now, through this time, you know, are you able to do your graphic design stuff on the road at this time? I mean, 2006, you know, the internet and laptops and things like that are all kind of coming together, but it's not as well as it is now. So, I mean, were you doing stuff on the road back then too?
Always, yeah. It's been the one thing I've been able to do as long as I have an internet connection. Maybe not way back in 2002. It was probably a little hard to find, but yeah, I've always done it. I've always loved doing it. And whenever I have a moment of time on the road, I like to crack open the laptop and dive into something, whether it be just starting something completely new or working on some client stuff. It's the best way to get out of the reality and back into my head, just thinking of artwork and stuff like that, not thinking of, oh, I'm not home, on a tour bus somewhere.
I think you got a right answer there. You know, back in the early 2000s, you know, in my limited touring through that period of time, you know, the one thing that I remember kind of the you know, going into a hotel room and the first thing you do is you ripping the phone cord out of the phone and, you know, hooking it up to the computer, hoping you can find, you know, an AOL nearby or something like that. So, you know, and now, you know, everything's Wi-Fi and, you know, they're handing out passwords at you know, the hotels and things like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of purchasing passwords, that's for sure. I remember you have to put a down payment of $20, and if you go over a limit of 5 megabytes, you're in trouble, type of thing. Yeah, this is before there was little modems for your laptop and stuff like that. So it was definitely difficult, but you know, it was a time of just working on my computer and then waiting for the right time to be able to upload. So just a lot of memory cards and zip drives and stuff like that.
Are you one that likes to tour? Do you enjoy the road, you know, the road life?
To a point. Those first few, like 5 or 6 tours, are usually really, really fun, and then it starts to become a job after a while. But just so lucky to be able to do something like that. I think especially now with the climate and the COVID that's been going on right now, it makes you appreciate those times and makes you think back to how whiny you could have been thinking your life was so terrible, being on the road and having fun and doing what you love. I have a new perspective on that, and I cannot wait to get back out and do it again.
Well, I mean, you guys were one of the bands that kind of started a tour, and then 2-3 days into it, I mean, they sent you home. So it's like, you know, you were guns a-blazing for the Atonement record, and then stops. You know, then you guys were probably hit one of the hardest.
That's the saddest part. Yeah, we were ready. We had all the merch printed up. We were 3 days in Michigan. We played our last show. I remember doing an interview on the couch in the bus right before the show saying, we're not going home until they make us go home. And the very next day, they're like, go home. Yeah, government is like, go home. So we literally did it till the wheels fell off. I just felt really bad for the crew. We did as much as we possibly could with getting them any sort of monies that they could possibly get from the government, any sort of stipends or any of that stuff. It's really them that suffer more than anybody else.
Right.
And I can't wait to get back on the road and see those dudes again. We've been doing lots of Zoom calls, band and crew, and saying hi, and lots of drinks and lots of smokes. And it's good to see those guys again.
I mean, and obviously, you know, this kind of goes back into your graphic design stuff. But I mean, of most people in bands, you know, you have kind of that second career that you can focus on in these times, and of all careers to have, to be able to work from home, work on the laptop, work online. I mean, that you are probably one of the luckier ones of in the music industry.
Yeah. Unfortunately, fortunately, yes. Things haven't super changed for me. I still go from my kitchen to my upstairs to my office and work every single day. It's just the boredom and monotony of Groundhog Day, the day we just had a couple of days ago, over and over and over and over again, without being able to get out of the house as much as I usually do, or be able to get back out on the road and see my friends. But yeah, this I've been working like this since, I'd say, hardcore since like 2004, using the internet as my home. So this really isn't a game changer for me. And now a lot of people are kind of doing what I've been doing and liking it as I've liked it.
I keep getting drawn to something in your room there. Is that a Devastator? Is that the Constructicons coming together back there?
It sure is. It's the big one. They released a gigantic one. I think it's about 25 inches tall or something like that. Hasbro has been killing it. I don't know if you're a toy fan or not, but Hasbro has been killing it. They do Hasbro Lab, and they do all sorts of special, gigantic toys that you never thought you'd see ever. And I've been loving it.
I just turned, I'm in my early 40s, and I still, to this day, do not trust giant green construction vehicles. I'm like, I'm on to you. I know what's going on over here. Let's use the power of the technology here and pull up some of these videos from the era. And I'm going to pull up Holy Diver and My Curse and just kind of tell me what you remember from these videos from the time. Boom, boom, click. Look at that. But, just kind of going over the videos and doing, all of the, I know you do the graphic design stuff, but do you do the, video work too, and have any input in this side of the band?
Not particularly. It's just not my field of knowledge. So I try to let the people who know what they're doing, do what they do best. And I just don't have the vision for it. It's fun and stuff, but I like just flat media. Media. This is a really fun one. I remember we played one day in a studio in Boston to a white screen, and then they just put the entire thing together. Very, very, very easy video to make.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nuts, man. I mean, and obviously the special effects for the time, definitely cool video, and it still holds up to this day.
Oh, cool. Yeah. It's different for sure.
Yeah. And this is, obviously My Curse is still, a staple of the Killswitch Engage set.
It's one of those tunes that did really, really well on the radio, and I don't think we can ever not play it live. It's just one of those songs.
Let's see here. Let's pull up Holy Diver. And then, the one thing with Holy Diver, obviously you said it kind of kept you on the road. Was that a song that, well, I guess, I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this 1,000 times, so it's kind of redundant to go over, but I mean, what brought that to the album? And then, what made you guys want to do the video for it?
Kerrang! Magazine had a compilation, and they were hiring bands to record old metal tracks to be on this compilation. And they asked, newer metal bands to do covers of old metal band songs, and it sounded like a really cool thing. One of the songs that we gravitated towards was Holy Diver. Was Dio's "We Rock" was the song, but we thought we could do Holy Diver more justice. So we asked if we could do that one, and they said, sure enough, that's a good idea. Now, we recorded this before we recorded As Daylight Dies, and we also recorded a WWE song called This Fire at the same time. So it was just 2 tracks. We went in the studio real quick to do them, and then kind of they fell by the wayside. The WWE track did what it did, which is really cool. And then Holy Diver, we just didn't want to be known as a cover band, so we kind of pushed it into the background as much as possible. We didn't put it on the original regular record. We only put it on the special edition. And we tried to not play it up because we just didn't want to be known. There was a bunch of bands out there known as like cover metal bands, and it just didn't seem like the avenue we wanted to take. We could play a cover song. We really enjoyed playing this song. But as far as maybe doing more, I doubt we will. It would really take something totally out of the ordinary to have us do that. But she had a really good time playing this one, then forgot about it. Roadrunner kept pushing it and pushing it, pushing it. And then they finally released, like I said, the special edition, and that kind of brought this song to the mainstream, onto the radio, and then another half a year of touring. Now, this part right here, that part right there with the horses was the only part I didn't want to do in the video. I said, there's no fucking way I'm getting on a horse, because they had minds of their own. So they had this woman with long hair be my stunt double on all the horse scenes. It was also a matter of staying an extra day to shoot more, and I just wanted to go home. And this last shot right here with the book was at 2 a.m. the following day of recording. So I was beat. I was ready to get out of there, making all sorts of silly faces just to get the shot done. And they ended up being the funnier parts, I think, of the video.
You're kind of the star of the video, man.
What's that?
You're kind of the star of this, you know?
Yeah, you do what you can. We started filming at 6 a.m. one day and then ended at 2:30 a.m. the next day. So the last thing I wanted to do was jump on a horse the day after and try to fight with this thing that has a mind of its own.
Now, is this soundstage or is this an actual castle somewhere?
This is a castle that someone was building for like like the fairs and weddings, and I believe it was by vineyards. So there was also like a wine mixed into it. It was still being built at the time, so it wasn't completely finished, but they had the whole courtyard. They had all sorts of rooms, and it was like 112 that day. It was so hot, wearing all that. The suit of armor is actually plastic, so it was, and then underneath it was was sweatpants. So it was like probably another 20 degrees hotter in that outfit, but super fun to do. And hopefully the audience sees how much fun we had doing it.
And you got the fair maiden, so there you go.
I mean, that was the first idea. Adam was like, "Okay, I'm going to be the woman. Mike D is going to be the hero because he's the smallest guy of the bunch and the least hero-like."
Right.
And then they're like, and obviously Jones needs to be the blacksmith. Other than that, we kind of filled in where it went.
It's too much fun, man. Just kind of looking back at that time, the music landscape at the time. I mean, I think I told you this last time you were on the show, but just what you guys did and that whole, the New England metal scene did to the entire music landscape, changed everything, man. It was like night and day. Like one day, friends of mine were like, check out this band Unearth and Killswitch Engage and just all that stuff from up there. And we were like, oh, we can play guitar solos again, because we'd been doing new metal for so long. So it's pretty nuts, man, what you guys were able to accomplish.
At one point, it seemed like Massachusetts was like the new metal Seattle. Things were just happening. Bands were starting other bands and they were working. And it was there was so much Massachusetts scene happening before then that didn't work, that didn't make it to the mainstream, that was just as good, if not better. Bands like Only Living Witness and Arise and Cast Iron Hike. There were so many bands that came and went in Boston that didn't get their just due, that the newer bands were paying tribute to, that caught on. So in the mid 2000s, it was like anything was catching fire in Massachusetts. It was like it was a godsend. It was really, really cool to see all my friends finally make a paycheck rather than playing for nothing, in bars and stuff like that. So it was just cool to see. And then it was gone. I don't know what happened, but
there's still a few of those bands still kicking, still alive and kicking. Yeah. And it's cool to see those guys still coming around. And seems like the Unearth guys have found a new light on the internet and things like that. Buzz and all that he does, and just it was just awesome at the time to just kind of hear, because we all of us grew up on Metallica and Megadeth, and then we all start listening to Korn and Limp Bizkit and Deftones, and so we start playing that type stuff, and then all of a sudden here comes like the metal back, and it was just so much fun.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, there was definitely a lull in heavy music in the mainstream at that point. So I think we just snuck in right at the right time. I believe it was Hatebreed that kind of put their foot in the door. They got on the Triple X soundtrack and showed the world that style of music was viable. And I think us and Shadows Fall just kind of snuck in, with the door being open a crack, and kind of blew it open from there.
Yeah, Hatebreed could have been that band that just put out Satisfaction, and it would have been a landmark album. They could have went away and did what a lot of the hardcore bands do now. They come out of retirement every 5-10 years to do 1 or 2 shows here and there. But the fact that Jamie and those guys were able to turn it into basically a gigantic machine that is Hatebreed now, it's pretty impressive.
Jamie's a worker. He loves to work. He's constantly on the road, whether it's doing Jasta or Hatebreed or any of that stuff. And I've known him for a long time. He used to book my old band Overcast,
nice,
way back in the day in Connecticut, and he was the only guy making that scene happen. So he's been a staple for a long time, and all credit to Jamie for all that he's done. Even his podcast is pretty amazing stuff. So he's doing the right thing for sure.
As we kind of wind down here, though, I did want to talk about one more thing. Was Guitar Hero at the time with Mike Curse, and I remember going to shows around that time, and other bands that were in Guitar Hero at the time. When their Guitar Hero song came on, you could see the guys that played Guitar Hero, because they would air Guitar Hero the track and they would play like the button, and it was so much fun to see. And did you see that from your angle playing live ever?
No, I don't know that I would know what they were doing if they were trying to figure out how to do the horns, maybe.
Well, they would do like because the 3 or 4 buttons on the controller.
That was the funniest part about that game, is that it was easy to play on bass and extremely hard to play on digital computer, and completely different, and not anything like you'd expect, because it's more drum based. Really, it's more, I don't know, hitting in the tempo rather than on the right chords. So it's a totally different thing. But that was a shocker. We were so ecstatic to get any song on one of those Guitar Heroes, because that was such a big deal for the longest time. So super fun. Weird to play your own song though. I was terrible at it.
And see the graphics up there of Kurt Cobain or whoever they would have playing a Killswitch Engage song.
Funny.
Yeah, then actually I think that was one tour I did find. I think you guys toured with Dragon Force around that time, and I think Dragon Force was a huge benefactor of the Guitar Hero era. Sure,
I mean, they're a guitar-driven band for sure. All sorts of fun stuff, jumping around, throwing their guitars all over the place, trampolines, all that fun stuff. That was one of the tours that we did on that As Daylight Die run. It was a No Fear sponsored tour. That was a really fun one. That was one of our first headliner tours, I remember, and we were just excited to be a headliner for the first time.
Nice.
It's a big step for us.
Yeah, that was definitely huge times. I saw Killswitch. I believe I saw you guys headline around 2004 to a couple smaller venues like Rocket Town in Nashville and headliners in Louisville and things like that. So it was fun times, man.
I love Rocket Town. That place is awesome. Super fun.
Yeah, it was a cool venue, man. Yeah, and as we kind of wrap it up, let's go with what's the future hold right now? I mean, what are you guys doing? I mean, I see that Louder Than Life and a few festivals are being popped up for later this year. So, I mean, are you guys encouraged that touring might come back?
We have so many touring opportunities that we can't take advantage of. So it's just a matter of when we're going to be able to get back on the road. When we do, it's all guns blazing. Let's go. Let's do this thing again. Who knows what it's going to look like? But as of now, all we're doing is kind of looking forward and excited for the future to get back on the road. Never know if we're going to do a live show on the internet or not. We'll see how that goes. There's definitely talks of something like that. No real new music per se yet, but we'll get bored sooner or later. Jump back in the saddle again. But yeah, Killswitch has kind of been on hiatus since last March. Unfortunately, is except for dropping the Atonement 2 Rarities CD that we did for charity. That was felt really good to be able to give back with songs that we kind of didn't know what to do with. So we just released that real quick, gave some money to charity. Hopefully, helped out some people. But right now, we're just bare knuckling, ready to get back on the road. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about the festival scene. I think that so many bands are potentially about to pile on these shows that some bands that might typically play at sundown are going to be playing at noon because there's just so many that need to get out and tour.
It might be an influx of too many bands, but hopefully people appreciate the fact that they can go see these bands again. And I know, for one, I would scoff at driving an hour to go to a show.
Right.
Hopefully people will reconsider something like that and just be thankful that there are bands out there doing it again. We'll see.
Yeah, last show I saw was Mr. Bungle in San Francisco, and we flew out there last year. I did not realize that was going to be it.
What month was that?
February.
Yeah. Everything was smooth sailing in February, really. We were just
it was like everybody was kind of like talking about this thing that might be happening, and even a couple of people on the plane out there had masks on. So it still wasn't like a thing yet. And then basically we get home and it's, well, hope you had fun. You're going to be home for a while.
Well, they were already prepping us that we may or may not go home on the tour when we first started it, and it was such a big tour that it was going to put us in the hole. So we weren't sure whether we should do it or not, but we really just wanted to get out there and work the record. So it was a big disappointment that it didn't work out, but here's to next year, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully something's going to happen. Something's going to happen someday. But yeah, man, it's once again, man, it's just a killer that it was such a good album. Atonement, start to finish is so good that I wish he could have got out and promoted it properly.
As do we. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we can figure something out.
All right. Well, Mike D, man, thanks for taking some time today. I know you're super busy up there, hanging out in COVID times.
Graphic design. Yeah, lots of graphic design. But thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Hopefully people picked up the As Daylight Dies vinyl re-release. Was it available once before? I think it was available in limited quantities a long time ago, but this is the first real shot that the U.S. has to buy it. So thanks for helping.
Looks like the pre-order is sold out, but I think you can find it at your local record store coming soon.
That's it. Yeah, it'll be at the record stores.
There you go. Hopefully, and maybe this will keep some of those doors open.
I hope so. I can't even believe that vinyl's come back, to tell you the truth. But
no, for being a graphic designer, I'm pretty sure you're pumped about that. Though.
It's the best. I love doing things at a huge format. As you can see with all the big robots and all the big skateboards that I have in the back here, I love doing big format stuff and giant color swatches and stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of vinyl, tons of vinyl, more vinyl now this year than I've done in almost my entire life.
Wow. So if somebody wants to reach out and have you do some stuff for them, how do they get in touch with you?
Dark Icon Design @gmail.com would be my address, or Dark Icon Design /art on Instagram.
There we go. Well, Mike D, man, thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have fun.
Right, and once again, thank you to Mike D of Killswitch Engage for coming on the show. Always honored to talk to anyone in Killswitch Engage. have them come on and go down memory lane and talk about the As Daylight Dies reissue, the double gatefold vinyl reissue. So make sure you guys are getting that once it is out. And a huge thank you to you guys for checking out the show. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, all that great stuff. And for the Talk Toomey podcast, I've been Joshua Toomey, and I will talk to you soon.